Welcome back to today's Explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into the absolutely wild story of a gritty commoner who completely flips high-class noble society upside down. We're looking at what I can only call a masterclass in unorthodox teaching. It's the story of a battle-tested mercenary named Derek, who steps into the elite world and basically forces these arrogant aristocrats to rethink literally everything they know about magic, survival, and honestly, about themselves.
We're going to kick things off right away with a quote that pretty much sets the entire tone for what we're looking at today. Make sure the student fears ignoring me. Now, this was advice given to Derek by his own mentor, Candia Flameheart, and it perfectly captures Derek's brutal yet incredibly effective teaching philosophy. You know, when patience and understanding just aren't cutting it, well, sometimes a teacher needs to start from a totally different, much scarier place. So let's set the scene here for a mercenary walking among nobles. Derek is a guy who literally hunts terrifying monsters just to survive, right? And suddenly he finds himself thrust into this polished, insanely wealthy, and ridiculously arrogant world of high society etiquette. Now, you might be wondering, why on earth would he take that job? Well, 15 gold coins. That's it. That is the massive, life-changing payout that finally convinces Derek to ignore his gut instincts and take the gig. Initially, he was just hired by the Grand Steward of the Duplain household to clear out some low-level goblins. But when 15 gold coins are slapped on the table, Derek drops absolutely everything to become a private magic tutor for this notorious, unruly noble teenager named Della. And it's just such a massive culture clash. On one hand, you've got Derek, a low-born commoner whose magic is fast, practical, and motivated 100% by survival and money. On the other hand, you have the elite Duplain family. These guys are obsessed with bloodlines, social standing, and they rely on these slow, rigid, super theoretical incantations. It's like oil and water. It's either going to be a complete disaster or an absolute stroke of brilliance. Which brings us to how Derek actually handles breaking an arrogant brat. Della Duplain is, well, she's a nightmare. She terrorizes the servants, refuses to learn anything, and she's literally on the verge of being banished to a monastery by her own family. Naturally, she assumes she can treat her new low-born tutor, Derek, like a literal punching bag. So get this. The noble expectation here is that when Della dumps a bucket of foul, dirty water on Derek, he's supposed to just cower and accept his place, right? Yeah, no, not Derek. The mercenary reality hits her like a freight train. Derek completely tosses noble etiquette out the window. He drags her into the woods, pulls a live sword on her, and literally starts hunting her down. He terrifies her so deeply that, backed into a corner and genuinely fearing for her life, she instinctively manifests mana to throw up an ice barrier just to survive. And here's the absolute kicker of the whole situation. Dila hadn't been failing because she was untalented. Actually, scratch that. She had incredible talent. She was failing because they were forcing her into this textbook-heavy school of regulations. Derek realizes instantly that her artistic, highly emotional personality meant she belonged to the school of the wild. She didn't need to read about magic, she needed to feel it. By pushing her right to the edge, Derek unlocked the genius hiding behind all that teenage arrogance. And that massive breakthrough leads us right into a high-stakes combat magic duel. To prove she shouldn't be shipped off to a convent, Dela has to show off these newfound skills against her older brother, Reg. And keep in mind, Reg is a genius mage who fully plans on completely crushing her in the arena. Now, normally, the nobles expect this highly refined, polite exchange of spells, but Delilah is Derek's student now, and she plays dirty. Instead of standing still and chanting, she shatters the floor, hides underneath the platform to launch surprise attacks, and, my personal favorite, when Reg forces her into close quarters, she literally throws a handful of dirt right into his eyes. She completely ditches her noble dignity, uses raw mercenary tactics, and secures a genuinely shocking advantage. So, with one student completely transformed, Derek's reputation absolutely skyrockets. But it raises a brand new, really tough question. How do you train a deeply insecure student to defeat a genius who has literally never lost a match? Enter Alante, another noble girl who is just consumed by jealousy and desperate to defeat Iseline, the flawless, untouchable flower of House Duplain. Derek doesn't sugarcoat it for Alante. He looks at her and basically says, look, you cannot beat Iseline in a fair fight of magical talent. It's not going to happen. Her only shot is to turn the fight into an absolute war of attrition. She just has to outlast her. To get her there, Derek puts Alante through an absolute nightmare regimen. I mean, first, he forces her into complete and total mana exhaustion. Then, it's brutal physical conditioning. We're talking running until she physically collapses. And the final step? He drags her into the nameless labyrinth and forces her into life or death combat against actual goblins. He completely breaks her down just so he can rebuild her combat instincts from scratch. But the psychological shift here is what's really fascinating. The old Alante was petty, she spread nasty rumors, and she was obsessed with winning at all costs. But under Derek's intense pressure, she hits this profound realization. Her obsession was never actually about hating Iceland. It was just this desperate, painful attempt to run away from her own deep-rooted self-hatred. And once she finally admits that to herself, her mind completely clears and her true power awakens. Okay, so the moment of truth. With her mind focused and her endurance pushed to the absolute max, Alante steps into the arena for the ultimate magic battle against Isoline. And let me tell you, it is an absolute spectacle. The chaos of this duel is just relentless. Minute 1, Alante goes all out, unleashing this overwhelming barrage of fire arrows, just burning through her massive new mana reserves. By minute 5, she's using illusions to close the gap for a physical strike, a classic Derek move. But Isolane is a genius for a reason. By minute 8, pushed to her absolute limit, Isolane pulls off a super rare mana alignment and summons a devastating 2-star fireball. By minute 10, both of them are just completely, utterly drained. And then the unthinkable happens. Alante looks at Isolane, smiles this soft, genuine smile, and simply says, "I surrender." Now, what you really need to take away from this is that, yeah, Isolane technically wins the match, but Alante's graceful surrender, that's the real victory. It proves she didn't need to destroy Isolane anymore. She just needed to know she could stand toe-to-toe with her. She finally conquered her own insecurities. So at this point, Derek has successfully fixed 2 of the most notoriously difficult nobles in the region. His reputation is soaring, everybody wants to hire him. But just as things seem to be going perfectly, this explainer plunges into much darker, way more dangerous territory. Because Derek's explosive success catches the eye of a 6-star mage. Enter Dressed Wolftail. Dressed is a literal legend. He's a commoner who defied the nobles, took down a count who wronged his family, and became a symbol of almost godlike power. And this 6-star legend has come looking for Derek for a very specific, very terrifying reason. See, Dressed possesses the power of foresight, and he drops a prophetic nuke right in Derek's lap. He tells him that Valerian, the kind-hearted eldest brother of the Duplain family, is inevitably going to fall to dark necromancy. To stop a massive disaster, Derek will have absolutely no choice but to kill him. And the final, chilling part of this prophecy, Dressed has seen the future, and Derek himself is destined to die in the process. Which leaves us with this final, massive question. Can a commoner's relentless, sheer mercenary willpower actually be enough to defy a 6-star prophecy? I mean, Derek survived the streets, he survived the arrogant nobles, and he survived the labyrinth. But can his unorthodox path and raw combat instincts actually allow him to cheat death itself? We're going to have to wait and see. But if anyone can break the rules of fate, it's definitely the mercenary who refused to follow the rules of magic. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will catch you all on